It's 160 days until Christmas 2020. And this evening, I just wanted to talk about a fun theory that I saw when I was on vacation. Thor Skywalker put a video out about this theory, and I enjoyed listening to his video. And so I looked it up, and I pulled up the Reddit thread just so we could talk about it again today, and maybe have some fun with this, because in general, the theory says that during the sequel trilogy, the whole thing, that Luke Skywalker was already dead. So when the events happened at his training academy with Ben, the thought is that he was actually critically injured in that exchange, and when he left there for Octo, that his wounds eventually took him, and as he arrived at Octo, he crashed into the sea, and that's where he died. So we end up with a Sixth Sense sort of situation. If you've seen that movie, Bruce Willis is here's spoiler alert. If you haven't seen Sixth Sense, maybe you should go see that, and then follow up on a replay or something like that. But it's an old movie. I'm assuming that most people are familiar with it. Hey Dale, good to see you. Polyhedral Paradise, go ahead and acknowledge you here as well, since the stream started. So General Kenobi. So anyhow, so the thought is that so in Sixth Sense, Bruce Willis is dead. We don't know that coming into the movie. It's the big reveal at the end. And the whole time during the movie, Bruce Willis thinks that he's alive. And he's investigating some things. And this little boy that we see says, "I see dead people," right? And we see different glimpses throughout the movie where the boy is interacting with different dead people. It's a bit of a scary situation. And it's one of the better movies that M. Night Shyamalan has put out. But it's really good. The twist at the end surprised everybody at the time, and it was a big deal. So the thought is that maybe Luke was in a Sixth Sense situation. He crashed on Octo, and when we see him in The Force Awakens, and of course all this time that had passed, he's in a compressed time situation. So if you're familiar with how the Force ghosts see time, they see future, past, and present sort of simultaneously, and that all these years have passed, but in Luke's perspective, it's all compressed. So he doesn't realize that he's been dead, or that he's been dead this long. And when Rey shows up there on the island, that he's been dead. He's been dead for all this time, and he is still trying to come to terms with what's going on. He's confused by this past, present, future reality. He's trying to figure out what's going on, and the only reason that he can be in this state is because of the extreme natures and the unique natures that exist on Octo itself as a Jedi temple and source of Force kind of conduit, right? So it's a conduit that kind of materializes him in physical form, even though he's in the cosmic realm. He appears in the physical form because he doesn't know that he's dead. Similar to Bruce Willis, right? He hasn't passed on because he doesn't know that he's dead. And that explains why he's doing things like fishing, getting the milk, and interacting with the islanders, the caretakers, and why he's been in that situation. He just, like Bruce Willis, doesn't know that he's dead. And when Rey shows up, he is essentially shooing her off because he has other things on his mind. He's trying to figure out what's going on. And the grumpiness that we see in him is him just dealing with this alternate reality. And toward the end of the movie, when he force projects, is when he's actually kind of transitioning into this state where he realizes, oh, wait a second, I'm not. My powers are different. My abilities are, my senses are different. The ability to see across space and time is different, and he projects himself to Crate, even though his force essence is on Octo. He projects himself to Crate, and he's existing in two places at the same time, even though he's a cosmic being in both. So it really is an out there theory. I don't put a lot of weight in it. I just think it's a lot of fun to talk about, because there is a perspective you could bring into it. You could look into this this theory and perhaps ride it a ways and make it fit. I enjoyed listening to it, and of course it's been debunked time after time after time, but it keeps raising itself up. I thought I would go ahead. Let me just share with you a little bit. I've got it up here in case you haven't seen it. So here's the Star Wars Reddit thread, and the theory is that when Rey arrives, Luke is already dead, right? So Luke was dead all along, and there's some comments in here, people trying to put holes in it, like what about the fishing and the milking bits, and what about these other things? And one of the complaints that I saw here was about the physical interactions, and it talks about Yoda interacting with his cane and all the physical and physical interactions even that he had with Rey. And I'll go back to even in the prequels, the or prequel era, I should say, because that's more germane. Oh, hey, Wu-Tang, good to see you here. So during the prequel era, in the Clone Wars era, when Qui-Gon passes on to the cosmic force, and right at the end, or when we're in season 6 of the Clone Wars animated series, Yoda goes on his quest, and he and R2 arrive at Dagobah, and interesting point there, just a bit of a side point, is R2 and Yoda were at Dagobah before. And when R2 goes back again later with Luke and acts like he doesn't know anything about Dagobah or Yoda, it raises some interesting discussion points there as well. But anyhow, I digress. When Yoda goes to Dagobah and he connects with Qui-Gon there, Qui-Gon lifts Yoda, right? So we end up with a situation where a cosmic force being is interacting with a physical force being. Dale, let's see what you say here. As if he's in stasis until his purpose is complete. Yeah, right. That's what I was thinking. Right, like if he's in stasis, the time and space thing, it kind of keeps him outside of understanding how long he's been gone or what's going on as he's dealing with this, and the repetitive nature of day after day. Is a bit of a Groundhog Day situation where he doesn't really realize the passing of time. So, no, R2 actually does not get his memory erased. C-3PO has his erased at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Bail Organa says, "Hey, wipe the protocol droid's memory." That happens, but the whole thought process was that R2 is retelling the story in the Book of the Wills, and that's where George Lucas kind of set the whole thing up, is that the whole story was being told from R2's memory banks. So that's the thought. So anyhow, let's see, where was I? Oh, I know. So we end up with Qui-Gon, even though Qui-Gon didn't yet know how to materialize himself in a physical state, because of the energy that existed on Dagobah. Qui-Gon was still able, from the cosmic force, to lift Yoda as a proof that, hey, I'm actually talking to you. You're not going crazy here, buddy. So, um, so that happened in the prequel era. If we see again during the original trilogy, when Obi-Wan materializes there on Dagobah as well, he pushes a branch out of his way as he's walking through. And I didn't catch this before, but there's a great video out there talking about why Force ghosts don't help out more. And I'd have to look up who authored it. Maybe you guys already know. There's a great video that was put out just within the last month or so, and it talks about it shows in there in that video where Obi-Wan pushes aside the branch as he walks around the log. He ends up then sitting on that log, right? We're all aware of that there. He kind of sits on the log. But the moving of the branch is the point where you see, again, a cosmic force being interacting with the physical. And so, yeah, film theory. That's it. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Colin. Oh, thanks, and hello there. Good to see you here this evening. So, yeah, so he pushes aside the branch. That's in the original trilogy. So in both cases, in the prequel era and in the original trilogy era, we see cosmic force beings interacting with the physical world before you ever get to The Last Jedi, when Yoda, of course, calls down lightning and he cracks Luke on the head. If Luke were part of the cosmic force already and Yoda cracked him on the head, maybe that explains that a little bit. But also, the force lightning to the tree is another example of a cosmic force being affecting the physical world. So that's a consistency that runs through the entire saga, and it isn't quite the plot hole that a lot of people wanted to make it during the sequel trilogy when you go back and you look at it in that context. So if Luke were already part of the cosmic force, he doesn't understand, right? He's a Bruce Willis in this situation. He doesn't know that he's dead. He doesn't understand what's going on. He's caught in this what is the word that Dale put, in this kind of stasis, right? And he's reliving day after day after day as he's trying to figure out what's going on. And it's not until the ordeal with Rey that it kind of shakes him out of it, and he realizes, wait a second, time has passed. There are other things going on. When he steps back on the Falcon, when all of this disrupts his existence, and through that, and then the encounter with Yoda, it brings him to the point that in Sixth Sense, where Bruce Willis gets at the end and he understands that he's dead, that Luke gets there. And when we, at the end of Last Jedi, see him evaporate, it wasn't that he died then. He was already dead. And that explains also why the hand didn't clatter down, the mechanical hand, because it's probably still in the X-Wing when he actually died. So his material, Groundhog Day as well. Yeah, his actual robot hand would have been in the X-Wing in the sea, and the one that he physically had was just a materialization that he had thought that he had. Yeah, and then it's Groundhog Day until Rey arrives, and then that shakes him, and he's like, "Oh, what's going on?" He comes to some realization, and at the end, when he evaporates, it's just him reuniting with the cosmic force. He hasn't his state really hasn't changed. He just has realized his place and how he fits in. And the next time we see him, he's still kind of anchored on Octo, where Rey comes back and she tosses the lightsaber and he catches it. So again, in Rise of Skywalker, when he catches that lightsaber, that's not a sort of a hole or a plot hole or some sort of breaking of lore. That's existed before. So we understand that Octo has this confluence of the Force. It's super powerful, and that's what allowed all this to happen. So I think there's a from a certain point of view, which is perfect for Star Wars, right? From a certain point of view, you can actually force this thing to work, and it doesn't really get that so far out. Polyhedra, what do you say here? So Ray would have found the hand and the body. Yeah, if there's anything left of the body, because what happens a lot of times is that bacterial forces and microbiotics and things that are in the sea consume that body. And so, yeah, in Rise of Skywalker, when Luke rises the X-wing out and then sets it down, when she's cleaning it, she probably found his hand in there anyway. Maybe his body, or some remains, and she would have had to bury those things. It was pretty gruesome, but that's it. It actually could have fit. Dale says, "Nah, Luke removed it as he put the door cut from the X-wing back on." Yeah, that could have happened as well. Luke could have said, "Ooh, that's a little nasty," and removed it. And in fact, he could have taken care of his own remains in between The Last Jedi and Return of Skywalker. So there's that. So yeah, you would think that the hand would be there anyway. So what do you all think? Does it, I've kind of tried to twist it. I've tried to kind of make it work. I know that Thor Skywalker debunked it pretty good, and the folks here on Reddit have debunked it pretty well. But overall, I think it's a fun theory, and I know a lot of people are really, really grumpy about how Luke is portrayed in the sequels. Let me bring this back up so I can follow along. People are grumpy about how Luke is portrayed in the sequels, and there's been a lot of argument, and that's really, at this point, a couple years after it, still the sticking point that a lot of people have with The Last Jedi, and sort of not being able to forgive it. But yeah, Fanjecture, hey Adam, thanks for joining in this evening. Thanks, good to see you. Yeah, it is a bit out there, granted, but could they pull it off? Could they retcon the story to make it fit, or is it just too far? Yeah, it's too unbelievable, and it makes bigger mess than it actually cleans up. I enjoy it as a fun theory. I don't put a lot of weight or stock in it because, for me, first of all, I'm not upset with Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. It doesn't take me out of the story that much, and I don't lose that much in his character that I've got invested in him. So for me, the sequel trilogy is just fine the way that it is. It doesn't have to be retconned to make that fit. But the Luke was dead all along theory, I think if you push it hard enough, it can work. But anyway, yeah, this is what would happen if Nolan made a Star Wars movie. Fun. So go weird, go home, Star Wars. Dale. Awesome 80s. I like the theory. Yeah. Hey, good to see you. I haven't seen you here before. Thanks for joining. And I was just checking. The last I checked, I am sitting just short of 100 subscribers. I'm sitting at 97. I picked up one more today. Woo! I'm just 3 short of 100, which would be awesome. It would be a lot of fun if I could continue to grow the channel and reach folks. And we just enjoy talking about Star Wars here. And there are from time to time, and earlier this week, some of our friends from the Den of Nerds Live got me off topic, and we talked a little bit about Guardians of the Galaxy, and some of the discussion was going on that day. So I'm more than willing to talk about other topics. I wanted to kind of lead off with this topic and explore it as far as we could. If there are any other topics that you're interested in talking about, I'd love to talk Star Wars with you. I know there's some other things out there as far as bringing in Anakin into the Obi-Wan series, and I see Star Wars Only is going to be talking about that this evening. There are other folks who have talked about it during the week. I brought it up earlier this week as well. I know Josh talked about it as well. So if there's anything that you'd like to talk about this evening, I'd love to bring it in. This one caught me last week, and I thought about it, and I wanted to come back this week and start off the week with this topic just as a fun discussion. But I think it's a great way to end the week. We've had a good week of Star Wars news, and holding this off to Friday makes for a nice start for the weekend. I had a lot of fun. Oh, Moff Gideon, Force sensitive. Yay or nay, right? Hawks holocrons, you're dying on the hill, huh? I did see that it would tie him into some of the extended universe as far as the lineage it would bring down. I'm neither for nor against. I lean towards against. But that's a hill I'm not willing to die on because I do think it's possible he could be a Force sensitive. I just don't know that it's necessary. I don't know. Tell me more. What are your thoughts? Let's see. Moff Gideon. Yeah, we have season 2 of The Mandalorian coming up soon. Wait and see if I see any comment on this. It's a hill you're willing to die on. There was also discussion about just while I'm waiting to talk a little bit more about. Well, so here's the thing: the actor who plays Moff Gideon, he was speculating that he might be, and he put out there just in his own that it's possible he could be, that it's not ruled out, and that he would like to see it himself. I don't think that he said anything definitive in that interview that said he is. He just kind of put it out there as speculation, something that he would like. I akin it much to Mace Windu living, and I would love to see Mace Windu come back because I think that that's entirely possible. Okay, let's see. I don't know if I'm back on yet. Let's see. Oh, we're back. Very good. So let me get caught up just a little bit. Yeah, we got a little bit of elves messing with the internet line up here, playing a joke on Santa. Took me right offline. So anyway, we're back here. Let's see. What do we have? Not definite, but Mandy dance around it. Yeah, I got to get back to where we were in the comments. Fan gesture busted. We broke the internet. Yeah. Let's see. Mace Windu spoiler. Yeah. You guys, I really appreciate you guys staying around. The snow must knocked it out. My router looks fine. Yeah, we lost me. I'm back. All right, we're live. We're good. Okay, I caught up with the chat. I don't want to do what Trinity, Second Street Marvel. He always gets behind on the chat and has trouble catching up. So I just wanted to catch back up there. Yeah, we were talking about Mace possibly still being alive, and that's because primarily the actor wants to come back, right? We want to see him back. The fans want to see him back. And so I think we have the same thing here with Moff Gideon. The actor would like to see him have force ability, and he thinks that it's possible he could have force ability. The one thing we know for sure is, and he did say that he is capable with the dark saber, and that he can hold his own. And we do know that they broke several of them during the filming. I think something like 3 of them. So he really got into the role, and they were able to have some really well choreographed fights. Really looking forward to that. We know Rosario Dawson's coming back in as Ahsoka in the series, and there's a good chance that we're going to see Rosario and Moff Gideon, or Ahsoka and Moff Gideon, go at it head to head. So that's very possible. Let's see what else. I talked to. Let's see. To be fair, we've all seen him use Darksaber. Used as a can opener. You know, when you're desperate, you use what you got, right? So if he's got the if he's got the Darksaber, you got to get a can open. You know, you got to get a can open. But to be honest, he did open the can, which was that tie that he was in. He opened that can with it as well. So that was fun. Yeah, the last one, Giancarlo. Yeah, don't break it. Yeah, out of the fighter, right? I know. I was having fun with that. But we talk about using it as a can opener. I was thinking, you know, when you're hungry, you're hungry. You need to get into that can of preserved food. You want to open it. If you have the Darksaber, you know, who needs a can opener? But yeah, he used it to get out of the fighter when it crashed. So I do hope to see some really well choreographed fight scenes. We're used to seeing Ahsoka very agile in the Clone Wars, and some of the actions that she does in there would be tough to do with live action actors. But who knows? Who knows? It'd be good. And the other talk that this week, and I started talking about it again just a moment ago, was Anakin and Hayden Christensen portraying Darth Vader. So that was added as some additional context about Hayden's role in the Obi-Wan series, that he would be filling the role of Darth Vader. And again, I speculated about that earlier in the week. I'm not sure how that comes off. We have seen Anakin in the Vader suit, but if he's fully Vader, does it matter that Anakin is in the suit, or could it be anybody? Might we have 3 or 4 actors in the suit, depending on the situation? Much like we do with the Mandalorian. We know there are 3 guys, one of them being John Wayne's grandson, but we've got is a bit of a gunslinger, that's Wayne, and then they've got a guy who's more of a samurai fighter who also wields or wears the suit, and then of course the primary actor. So we know that all 3 of them have been in the Mandalorian armor at one point. Might we, with Hayden, see him in the Vader suit, but also see other folks in the Vader suit? And what's the point of having Hayden in the Vader suit if the helmet's on? Not quite sure. So I do think it would be flashbacks. It might be some other things. Polyhedral. I like that. What's left of light side of Anakin routinely visits Obi-Wan in visions. I wonder about that. So with the visions part, right? So might there be a Force Skype kind of situation like we saw between Rey and Ben when they were connecting? Might we see that with Anakin and Obi-Wan from time to time, or is it something different? Just visions of Anakin, or Anakin in the suit? Maybe he's having these visions himself and sees himself. Those are all good questions. Yeah, why does Ahsoka can jump? Oh, Dale. That's too funny. Yeah, wires. And we've talked about, and I saw earlier today, I know Adam had on his channel this morning, Fanjecture, we talked a little bit about the movies being pushed and 2021 being gone, right? There's no movies of any importance are likely to get released in 2020. Those are going to get pushed. And then I did listen to John Campia's show where there's speculation that the theaters won't truly get new movies or the big movies until summer of 2021. And if that's the case, Campia doesn't think they'll make it. He doesn't think they'll make it that long. And there's a strong argument for that. Just being saying that these theater chains have to pay their rent. They have to pay the mortgage. They have to somehow stay afloat. And how do they float that money for that long and make those payments for that long, even if everything else is suspended? I don't know how they pull it off. I don't know how they stay in business just by playing the small movie releases. So theaters are open now largely across the country, and they're playing old reruns. I know that we just saw Star Wars come back up to the top again. So it could happen, but I just don't know that that's enough revenue to hold them over until they get the big budget release next summer, when we maybe see Tenet, or we see Mulan, or we see what everybody's been waiting on, Black Widow. What's going to happen, and how are they going to play that off? Two of those could easily go to Disney Plus, but would it recoup anything? What goodwill is it going to earn them to release Mulan and Black Widow and Disney Plus as part of their streaming service? Might they go paid video on demand? I think Adam looked into that this morning. He got out the spreadsheet and spent a good amount of time with Tenet in the spreadsheet this morning. I don't know. But I don't know. Host some big birthday parties. We have a joke with one of my clients who says, if you have a protest, you're allowed to have more people come together. So you can protest somebody's birthday and have a bigger party. Protest. Just people being silly. But in any event, yeah, I know they try to rent out those rooms for like churches and other things. So maybe that'll be it. Hawk, I think Mulan will flop. It's a retelling of the original story of Mulan. So rather than a retelling of the animated movie Mulan, it's a retelling of the story Mulan that actually predates the animated movie. It'd be much like doing Phantom of the Opera or Hunchback of Notre Dame if you were to go back to the literary work instead of remaking the animated movie. So I'm actually sort of excited about seeing that, and I think if they hold closer to the original story of Mulan, it might perform actually better in Asian theaters. Talking about China, Korea, South Korea. I don't know if North Korea has much of a market, but Japan. When we get over into Asian countries, it might perform actually better because it holds more true. I know that you get in your childhood, you love the dragon and Eddie Murphy's portrayal there, but that's not a part of the original story, and I think that they can pull it off without that and without the music, and have it be a retelling of the actual story and pull it off. Much like if they wanted to do Hunchback of Notre Dame, not as a remake of the cartoon, the animated movie, but as a retelling of the actual story. So, yeah, yeah, I get you, Hawk. And it might be a North America thing. I don't know. It could be we'll have to see. I do think there's a good chance Mulan would do well, but I'm not sure. But hard to see, really hard to see. But if they try to do that, and really the point I think is more on Black Widow than it is with Mulan. I think they could go streaming service with Mulan easier. But Black Widow, for some reason, they've been holding off on that, and I just don't know if it's going to make it. Polyhedra. I'm curious for Mulan. Yeah, I would too. Of the three, those are the big three. There are lots of others, of course. We've got Wonder Woman 84 that's gotten pushed a few times. Of course, 007, it's gotten pushed. there's actually a handful of movies, and that list is going to continue to accumulate longer this goes. And there was some discussion I saw on Campia's show, and that was brought in more by his guest Robert Meyer Burnett, who said that maybe they start releasing in other markets and just hold out on North America, on the U.S. market specifically, because of how we're handling things here and how the virus is continuing to take hold. Maybe they release it in Europe, Asia, Canada, and the rest of the country, or the rest of the world, and just hold out from hot spots, United States and maybe a couple others. So that they can recoup some money. I'm not so sure. But if they hold these off and they can make it till next summer, then that would give theater chains a pipeline of movies while they work on getting movies shot again and work on getting them out. The question I have, and I saw earlier in the week, Campia talked about the Batman with Pattinson, that they've taken the rest of that shooting indoors into sort of a situation more like The Volume, and Josh talked about it a little bit this morning. I think there's going to be a lot more of that. And as far as we see that technology that's in The Volume, Josh is absolutely right there as well. None of that stuff is proprietary to Disney, to Lucasfilm. It's all technology that exists, and I would bet anything as we start to see Generation 2, Generation 3, where people continue to enhance that and integrate those technologies together, that you'll see it improve even more than what we see in The Mandalorian. And The Mandalorian is really, really good. There's some parts where you kind of gotta suspend things a little bit, but the Mandalorian's really good. They were able to get the production costs down, and I think at least for some time we're going to have to see theaters or studios come way down on production costs. I don't know if you guys have paid attention before, but when I sit at the end of movies to see if there's a post credit scene, you look at the credits and just look at some of the things listed on there. There's an assistant to the assistant of the person who goes and gets donuts. It's really, really crazy the amount of inflated support that are on a lot of these big movies. If you look at the roles some of these people have, and if they're getting paid union scale for some of these roles, it's understandable why some of the budgets inflate the way they do. Certainly that's not a majority of the movie, but it still adds on. If you're able to bring that stuff in, and you're not traveling, you're not going on site, you're not having to do things, you can do it all within a volume kind of situation, then you bring those production costs down, which is going to happen. These studios are going to have to do something to insulate themselves. And I mentioned it in the chat this morning on Fanjecture's coffee stream this morning, that if they can get these production costs down, the studio is going to look for ways to insulate themselves against this type of thing happening again. And anytime a pandemic or any kind of natural disaster or anything that would shut down theaters on a global scale, should that happen again, how they recoup their money, how they insulate themselves from that, how they insure against that happening again. And as it was brought up, these theaters or these studios, they take out loans and they have to make payments on those loans, and they're counting on the revenue from the theaters making those payments for them. And if that's not going to come in, where are they getting the revenue? And Netflix has shown, as well as some of the other streaming models, if you're paying $10 a month for something and you get 100 million people to do it, you can make $1 billion a month on revenue, and that revenue then can be put into your projects. And it's just tough to see, how they're going to do that. Let me catch up on some of the talk again. Um, Polyhedride, yeah, I talked about it. Tenet, forgot about 007. Um, oh, let's see. Pattinson and DC for days. Well, I've been trying to get Josh to take the who's going to be more jacked challenge, right? Like if Pattinson is more jacked than Josh, then Josh has to shave his head. I think that's a fair bet. And if you saw that hair today, if you saw Josh's hair today on Den of Nerds live, and then later on his recorded things, oh my goodness, that head does need shaped. And he could join Adam and Trinity and myself with this beautiful head. We've all got perfect heads. That's why we don't need hair. And we can see if Josh actually has the head to pull it off. Does he have a head that's worthy of no hair? We'll have to see. That'll be. I think he should take the challenge. I think Josh should absolutely take the. Can he be more jacked than Pattinson for the Batman? And we'll leave it that to decide. Josh, Adam, yeah, he looks like the Poodlefly Spinner from Zootopia. That's fantastic, and I hope Josh gets word of this and that he'll actually accept the challenge. I think that would be great. That's just more fun. What else do you guys want to talk about this evening? We've been in this a little while. I've extended the discussion on. Any Star Wars news discussion there? I think the week's kind of wrapped up. I had fun talking about is Luke dead theory. I think it could work if you pushed it hard enough, and they could retcon it. I personally don't need to see the need for it. Josh can do amazing things with CGI. I don't know. What's he put a green skull cap on, and then he could put anything on there that he wants. That'd be fun. Oh, Josh, where are you, my friend? Where are you? You're missing all the fun this evening. That's good. So, well, you guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, what do I think about Ezra being in season 3 of The Mandalorian? Great question, Dale. Here's what just my thoughts are. I am seeing that from a live action standpoint, we're starting to see all of the characters from Rebels cast. And there's been casting calls and rumors of somebody being cast as Ezra. There's been rumors of some of the other characters there as well. I think that, and Thrawn, of course, he always comes up. I think there's a very good chance that following the animated follow-up to Rebels, which has been rumored for a long time, we just haven't seen the specifics on it. I think we'll get that very soon. That following that animated follow-up to Rebels, where I think they will find, it'll be the search for Ezra Bridger. I think they will find Ezra and Thrawn, and they'll bring them back in, and we'll see those characters, all of them in live action, in a follow-up series. And there's very likely that we'll see a spin-off from The Mandalorian, where Rosario Dawson is Ahsoka. I think we'll see an older Ahsoka, not a Rebels era Ahsoka, but an older Ahsoka, along with the other cast from Rebels, that we'll see that in some live action. I don't know if it'll be in season 3 of The Mandalorian. I think it might be spin-off entirely on their own. I really do. Also, ladies, hey, you got to go. I'm going to go ahead and kind of wrap it up too. Polyhedra, when can we admit that Star Wars has always been written by the seat of the pants and give sequel trilogy a break? Dude, I'm a sequel trilogy supporter. and I've pointed out that the original trilogy was a hot mess as far as like planning. Um, During A New Hope, Vader was not intended to be Luke's father, and Leia was not intended to be Luke's sister when that movie was released. During the Empire Strikes Back, they they kind of retconned Vader in to be Luke's father. It was a great twist. It was a good decision, but it wasn't part of the original script. You can find the original script where Force Ghost Anakin is talking to Luke on Dagobah, but that was switched up to be Obi-Wan, and then they made Vader his father. Good decisions, good changes. It's just that this buy your seat of the pants kind of thing. Right? All this discussion about the sequel trilogy being not planned out. Well, I've got news for you. Neither was the original trilogy, and that change was made. And during Empire Strikes Back, Leia still was not Luke's sister when that movie was released. That still wasn't part of the story. Leia wasn't actually kind of retconned to be sister until we get Return of the Jedi. So that's a big mess. That's always been a big mess. And the prequel trilogy was George Lucas unfettered, and also he had planned Jar Jar Binks to be a much bigger part of that, but he scaled it back after the backlash from Jar Jar, and he was really disappointed. And there's a lot of interviews where he changed things because of the fan reaction. So, yeah, Star Wars has always been a seat of your pants. The culture within there's another video, and I almost did something on this, but a former worker at Lucasfilm was writing a book that got pulled, and he talked about the culture of Lucasfilm being not what it was for him, and he left, and he was very unhappy, and that he's kind of floating out there that it's a toxic culture within Lucasfilm. And I want to tell you that I worked for a big company in Central Ohio that was bought by a bigger company. And the company that I worked for had started off as a very small, local, regional thing. And some of the people that I worked with were there when that was very, very small. And as it grew bigger, the culture began to change. And the last step there towards the end, when it became this huge company, the culture had changed entirely. And people who had been around through that whole transition were not necessarily happy with those changes. When companies are bought, especially small companies that are very family-like, are bought out by larger companies and then even larger companies and become part of this kind of global conglomerate, then it's no longer that small culture that you had to begin with. And I would just venture to say that that's what happened at Disney or with Lucasfilm. We know that George started that off as his own pet project, and some of the things kind of grew and spun off on their own. But when Disney bought it and became part of a big corporate thing, then of course the culture changed. That doesn't mean that it's a bad culture. It just means that it's no longer what it was. And I understand that's how things happen. I've lived it myself. I've experienced it myself, and I have friends who have been through it as well. And I suspect, rather than some of the negativity that's come out of those interviews recently, and if you're familiar with it, you know what I'm talking about. I try to avoid getting into those specifics because there is a portion of the Star Wars fan base that will take anything and turn it negative, and go negative with anything. And this interview with the former Lucasfilm employee that was a writer, a book, he kind of recorded things as they happened. Within Lucasfilm, not stories, that happens. So, yeah, Dale, that I would appreciate that. Yeah, yeah. Please do include that in your comments here as well. But we're pushing up on an hour. I have so much enjoyed spending some time with you all today. This is a great way to end the week and trying to get back into the streaming on a more regular basis. I know I wasn't able to get anything up yesterday, but I enjoyed today. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Spend some time with your family and loved ones, and do something to make somebody else's life a little bit better. And remember that we're all in this together, and we can make a positive impact on things. So from that, I'll go ahead and sign off as a Merry Christmas, everybody. You guys take care. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye bye.